In this lecture, let us discuss the new concept called line coding, and this is the introduction to the line coding. Okay, so what we have learnt so far is how to represent information which is originally in the analog form and represent it in the digital form. Ultimately, this digital information is going to be transmitted on a channel in the form of a sequence of binary pulses. So it could also be sequences of what are called M array pulses. So either you can use binary pulses or you can use M array pulses. So binary pulse in the sense you have only two levels like this. So this is level 1 and this one is level 2. So you have only two levels. If you take M array, then there are M number of levels like this. There can be M levels, level 1, level 2 up to M number of levels. That's what we mean by M array pulses. Okay, for example, if you take M is equal to 4, then you will be having 4 levels of pulses. This is one level. Maybe you can have one more height, maybe one more level. So level 1, level 2, level 3 and level 4. So 4 array pulses. So either we will use binary pulses or M array pulses, which are used to represent the digital information. Okay, so instead of representing the signal by only two levels, two level amplitude, you could also represent it by more than two levels. You could also represent it by more than two levels by grouping bits of information together in a single amplitude. For example, here this represents binary 1 and this guy represents 0, or this can represent 0 and this can represent 1, either way. But here this is 0 0 0 1 1 0 1 1 like this. So here essentially what we are doing is we are grouping the binary bits into two bits like this. So grouping is done in M array pulse scheme. Okay, so you club two bits into a single amplitude with 4 possible levels and so on. But we will talk more about that later. Okay, we will not talk about this M array pulses. We will discuss more on binary pulses. Okay, so in general, therefore, we are going to transmit on the channel a pulse sequences with the discrete levels, and one important thing is these levels are discrete levels. It is not continuous. Okay, these all are discrete levels, they are not continuous. So let us at the moment restrict our discussion to binary signals. So in this binary system, our information is in the form of ones and zeros, and any two level waveform is adequate to represent this ones and zeros information, and then you can transmit it onto a channel, right? So you can choose a pulse like this to transmit 1, maybe let's say this is plus 5 volts, and you can choose 0 volt to transmit zeros and 5 volts to transmit ones. So this is my binary waveform. Therefore binary waveform is chosen to transmit the binary information. Now whenever you are choosing these kind of waveforms, there are certain things we need to consider. Okay, so there is an important question that one should ask ourselves. The first question is, what kind of waveforms to use? This is very, very important question. What kind of waveforms to use? And then the second question one should ask is, what are the implications of using various kinds of waveforms. Like simply you cannot go on to choose a square pulse like this, or you choose a rectangular pulse like that. No, you are not allowed, because the implication of this rectangular pulse or triangular pulse is how much bandwidth does it require. That is a very very important question. One should always think about it. Okay, so therefore we have some choices, okay, that I can just talk about without much introduction, right? So there are different types of waveforms. Let me write down a few waveforms here. You can use unipolar waveforms. Unipolar waveforms. I did not name it, but I have given the example. Okay, so unipolar waveforms. Then you could have polar waveforms. Then you could have bipolar waveforms, right? So, and many others. So we will talk about in due course. So a unipolar waveforms will be one in which two pulse levels represented by, let's say, a 0 volt and a positive voltage. So this is the example of unipolar. I did not name it, but this is an example of unipolar. So you have plus 5 positive voltage and 0 voltage. It has only one voltage level. It doesn't have negative voltage. So that is why this is unipolar ones. So positive voltage represents 1, 0 voltage representing logic 0, and 0 voltage representing logic 0, and a positive voltage represents logic 1. So this is positive voltage and this is 0 voltage. And a polar one is one in which 0 is represented by a positive voltage, right? And 1 is represented by a positive voltage, and 0 is represented by a negative voltage, like this. Maybe I can put like that. So this is 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. This is polar waveforms, and negative voltage and positive voltage. 0 is represented by a negative voltage, and 1 by a positive voltage, or vice versa. You can use opposite direction also. You can use positive voltage for 0 and negative voltage for 1. It's as per your convenience, nothing's wrong in that. A bipolar one would be a slight generalization of the polar waveforms, in the sense that you could perhaps apply 3 levels in the polar waveform, 3 levels. Okay, here only 2 levels, and here 3 levels. That is, this guy uses positive voltage, 0 voltage, and negative voltage. Look at here, there is no 0 voltage here, no 0 voltage. Okay, so the polar waveforms, this one, polar waveforms sometimes is also known as non-return to 0 waveforms. See, either the waveform stays at positive voltage or it goes to negative voltage, but it never stays at 0 voltage. Therefore, this waveform is also called non-return to 0. Non-return to 0 waveforms. NRZ waveform, because they are always switching between positive and negative voltages and never really transmitting 0 voltage. It never transmits zero voltage, but it passes through the 0 voltage, that's all. In bipolar waveforms, the difference is that you may be sometimes transmitting 0 voltage also. Okay, so polar and bipolar are very similar in the sense that both have positive and negative voltages. Okay, this guy also, bipolar also has positive voltage and negative voltage, and polar waveform also has positive voltage and negative voltage. But in addition to positive voltage and negative voltage, the bipolar waveform has 0 voltage. Okay, in bipolar you may also have some durations over which 0 voltage is being transmitted, but we will look at that details as to how that comes about in a few minutes. Okay, now let us take the so-called polar waveforms, because as far as the choice between unipolar and polar is concerned, it is quite obvious that a polar waveform will be a suitable choice, okay, a better choice, right? So a unipolar waveform will always end up by transmitting some DC voltage. That means you are transmitting some power. Suppose if you take unipolar, either you transmit a positive pulse or 0 voltage. Again a positive pulse or 0 and 0, again positive pulse like this. Now this is my unipolar, positive voltage and 0 voltage. If you use this kind of unipolar waveform, then what essentially is going to happen is that you will be transmitting certain amount of DC voltage. If you take average of this, DC voltage lies somewhere here. This is my DC level. Okay, so maybe this is not clear, maybe I'll use some other pen. Let me use a different color. Yeah, this is my DC level, right, or a DC component. It has DC component or DC level. So since you have DC component, you will be having some power, and by the very nature of information, any constant valued signal has no information content. Whenever you have DC level, this doesn't carry any information, but unnecessarily you are wasting a lot of transmitter power in conveying no information or whatsoever in unipolar. So this DC component conveys no information, but still you are spending some amount of power. Okay, but at 0 you are transmitting, you are not transmitting the power, but you are transmitting power at a DC. Okay, this is DC level, 0 voltage level. Of course at DC you are not transmitting, but at the DC level you are transmitting certain amount of power, which usually contains no informations. Okay, because you have some finite DC component. This finite DC component is always sitting on the line, which will not be conveying any information. Okay, of course it is even otherwise bad to have DC component for various other reasons, which we will soon discuss. So unipolar waveform is very rarely used. If at all ever used. Why this statement has come? Because of the DC component that is inherently built into such a unipolar waveforms. So really most of the time we are talking about polar and bipolar waveforms. So we will not be talking about unipolar waveforms. Okay, we will really consider these two guys in detail here. Now let us take the case of polar waveforms. Okay, so let me take a typical sequence. Let's say 1, maybe 1, let me represent like this, then 2 zeros, this is 1 0, another 0, and then again 1 like this, and then 0, 1, this is 0, this is 0, 1 and 0 like this. So this is the typical polar waveform. For example, if you have a sequence of 1 0 0 1 0, okay, so you will be transmitting waveform like that. Okay, so you will always be switching between positive voltage and a negative voltage. Or else let me make it a little more clearly. Instead of drawing like this, let me make it like this. So like this is positive voltage and this is negative voltage, right? So you will be switching between positive voltage and a negative voltage, and never really going through this 0 volt, okay, except for a transition through 0. So you have to come from positive voltage to negative voltage through 0, but you are not staying at 0. No, you are not staying at 0, but you are going through the 0 values. Therefore, this waveform is more popularly known by the name of NRZ, non-return to 0. See, this waveform goes through the 0 but not stays at 0. It never comes and stays at 0 value. Either it stays positive voltage or it stays at negative voltage. So this NRZ is the common terminology used to talk about this waveform. Now let's see what happens if such a waveform is transmitted on a typical cable system. Okay, see, for ultimately all the waveforms going to go through some kind of transmission line. So which would be a cable, or it could be a pair of wires, right? Or any other communication medium. So what you see is that such a waveform is not really suitable. This waveform is not really suitable for transmission on such a transmission line or cables or other pair of wires. The reason why it is not suitable is that most of these cables or systems will ultimately in between have repeaters. So you have a pair of wires and you put a repeater, and again pair of wires, another repeater, and like this, and finally receiver will be there, right? Usually there will be an AC coupling whenever you put a repeater. So there will be something called AC coupling, and here also you will be having AC coupling, here also you will be having AC coupling. Okay, what is the use of AC coupling? It will not allow the DC component, right? Because you don't want DC interferences. The advantage of this guy is will not allow DC, okay, or other signals to somehow get in. So there will be invariably some AC coupling at the point of repeater or at the input of your receiver, right? See, the cable is connected to repeater, and in fact there could also be transformers in between. So you may have some transformers here, some transformers here, or here some transformers. So it is totally unavoidable to get rid of components like transformers and AC coupling. Typically, if you recall from your analog circuits, if you take a common emitter amplifier, then this is RE, then RC, RE, and this emitter bypassing capacitor like this, and voltage dividing bias R1 and R2 like this. If you have a source, the source is connected to the amplifier via a coupling capacitor. So you put a capacitor here and like this. So this is called AC coupling, because the operating point should not change. To maintain the operating point in a stable position, we put this capacitor, otherwise the biasing of the transistor will be completely collapsed. And you put output coupling. This is the output coupling capacitor, and this is the input coupling capacitor, input AC coupling. Okay, so whenever you have repeaters or amplifiers or receivers, there is something called AC coupling. So similarly here this repeater is essentially an amplifier, right? It is not only amplifying, it does additional two operations, retiming and reshaping. Therefore, because of this AC coupling and transformers, there will be some problem in the polar waveforms. Okay, that we will see what the problem is. Therefore, because of the presence of these kinds of devices, transformers and AC coupling on the line, the low frequency response of the line is usually poor. Low frequency response is usually poor. If you plot the frequency response of this amplifier, it goes slowly, it goes and stays mid-range and again comes down like this. And this portion is coming because of AC coupling. And this reduction is coming because of there is some bypassing capacitor, these guys. So this is CBE, base to emitter, and collector to emitter, and collector to base like this. Because of these guys, this response is coming down, dropping down, and here this is due to AC coupling. So in the low frequency region, you will be having poor response. So AC coupling and transformers, the low frequency response will be poor. Okay, see the AC coupling will create a poor low frequency response, right? So this is what you have done in your RC coupled amplifiers. And there is a series coupling capacitor, right? This is a series coupling capacitor, results in poor low frequency response. Because of this capacitor, you will get poor low frequency response. And because of this capacitor, you will get poor high frequency response. Isn't it? And the transformer is just again needed to couple a signal from one point to another point within the repeater or somewhere else. Okay, so you will recover a transformer. Typically, you will recover a transformer. Without transformer, you cannot do it. Therefore, the low frequency response becomes very poor in polar waveforms. Now, to see the effect of this poor low frequency response, let us look at the following waveform. Let me draw this waveform. Let's say 1 and then 0, 1, 0, right? Then again 1, 0, then again 0, then 1. This is 1. Continuously let me take 3 ones like this, and then come down like this. Like this. Let me take the waveform like this. Okay. Now this is 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. So this one is positive voltage and this is negative voltage. Let's say this is your NRZ, non-return to zero waveform that you are transmitting corresponding sequence 1 0, 1 0, 1 0, 1 1 1 triple 1, 0 1, 0 1. This is the sequence I would like to transmit. Typically, if you transmit this waveform to the transmission line, then what you are going to see at the output is as follows. By the way, this is my DC level. Now the DC level, what is the DC level in this waveform? 0. Perfectly fine. DC, which is equal to 0 volt. Now if you transmit this waveform through the transmission channel, and that channel has the AC coupling and transformers, and these two devices gives power low frequency response. Because of that, you get a droop. Okay, you get a droop in the pulse duration. Droop in the pulse duration. We will see what it is. Okay, so I mean pulse amplitude is not constant at the output. So because of the low frequency response, it comes like this, and again instead of stopping at this point, it goes down like this. Okay, and again it goes like this. This is my zero level. I'm sorry. 1 minute, let me draw properly. So it goes like this, comes down. It's supposed to stop here in this point, but it has to go like this, but actually it is going like this. Okay, because of the low frequency response, there is a slope here. There is a slope here, right? So it goes down beyond this point, and then again it slowly goes like this, and then charges like this and comes down like this and it goes like this and slowly comes down, comes like this, then goes like this, like that, and then instead of it slowly comes like this, and then 2 levels like this. Now what you see here is this is my DC level. DC level. Originally my DC level is 0 volt. Okay. Therefore, the problem will come here when we are suddenly having long sequence of ones, 1, 1, 1 long sequence of ones. There is a jump in the DC level. Okay, so the DC level is supposed to be here actually, but it is not at this point. The DC level is keep on changing, it goes down. This is my new DC level because of the poor low frequency response. So I have a series of 1 here. So you get a response like this because of the series of 1s. After that you get a jump of 2 volts. See, this is my 2 volt jump. Let's say this is plus 1 volt and this is minus 1 volt. Therefore there is a 2 volt jump. Because when suddenly a transition comes, the capacitor will just respond by creating the same kind of jump in the outputs, and you will get now a set of pulses with which is same as this, but there is a difference. What is that difference? The difference is the DC levels of these pulses. See, this pulse has DC level somewhere here, this guy has somewhere here, this guy has somewhere here, this guy has somewhere here, and this guy has somewhere there, right? So the DC level is changing. The DC level of these pulses is different from the DC level of my original waveform. This is my input waveform and this is my output waveform of the transmission line. Therefore, a DC level is constantly changing depending on when you get a sequence of ones, especially when you get a sequence of ones like this, that is a long sequence of ones, you will get a drop in DC level. Similarly, if you get a long sequence of zeros, that is negatives, you will get a lifting of the 0 level. If you get long sequence of zeros, lifting of DC level. So these two are bad, equally bad. When you get long sequence of ones, drop in the DC level, sequence of zeros, lifting of DC level. And depending on what is the length of the sequence, the amount by which this wander takes place will keep on changing. and this effect is called a DC Vander effect. This effect is called a DC Vander effect, that is wandering of the DC level. So because of the poor low frequency response. Now this will create a lot of problems at the receiver or at the repeater. Could you think what would be the problem? Right? At the receiver we need to decide, okay, whether 1 is transmitted or 0 is transmitted, right? We are interested in finding out, okay, when we transmitted a 1 and when we transmitted a 0. If the pulse shape completely changes like this, then we can't determine whether 1 is transmitted or 0 is transmitted. Okay, so remember in the previous course in analog communication we talked about the matched filtering concept, okay, for this purpose only. But let's forget about the matched filtering for a while. What is common intuitively appealing way of deciding is whether you can ask a question, right? What is a common intuitively appealing way of deciding whether in a particular bit interval, let's say this is my interval, in a particular bit interval a 1 or a 0 was transmitted for such a waveform in the presence of noise. Noise also will come and sit here somewhere else. Okay, so the noise will again change the shape of the waveform, right? So in this case, how would you decide whether 1 is transmitted or 0 is transmitted? You have to make a decision at the receiver or at the repeater in order to decide whether 1 was transmitted or 0 was transmitted. So the best way would be look at the area of each pulse, each bit interval, because you don't want to get affected by spikes of noises. Noise also will come into the picture. So the best way to make a decision is look at the area. If the area is positive, then decide 1 was transmitted. If the area is positive means what? The area is largely positive, you can declare that 1 was transmitted. On the other hand, if the area mostly comes under 0, negative, then you will declare 0 was transmitted. That's how you will decide you will make the decision at the receiver. But in this case, what happens? Now this is my actual DC level, but if you take this bit interval, originally it was positive area. If you look at here in this bit interval, this is my positive area, right? My positive area. But if you look at here, now the area is negative here. Therefore, you transmit 1, but you decode it as 0. Okay, so the problem here crop up is the positive area is appearing as a negative area. So this is the first problem. Okay, so the second problem is still the one which we discussed earlier, namely because there is a constant change in DC level is constantly changing, and there will always be some DC or other component which is a waste of power. So one is you are making wrong decision, and other is waste of power. The first one is making wrong decision because of the DC wandering problem, and the other one is what is called waste of power. Okay, so eventually end up transmitting more power for the same performance. Okay, your power is being wasted here and there. So that problem stays here also. But in addition to that problem, I am referring to a more recent problem here. That problem is you are making a wrong decision. See, wasting a problem is not that much very important one. Okay, even sometimes you may sacrifice. It's not going to be a big issue, but making a wrong decision has become major thing. Okay, because of this shifting in the pulse location, actually if I enlarge it, actually the pulse here, it has to be like this. Actually originally this is my area, but now the area has gone down to the down here. Okay, that is not supposed to be there. But in originally the DC component is 0, right? DC voltage is 0, therefore power is 0. Power is equal to 0 watt. But here, because of the shift in DC, the power is wasted here. Okay, if there is some DC component, that DC component will contain some power, right? So that's the point. So if I don't have a DC level, that means all the power which is there in the signal, okay, all the power will be present in the signal only. It is not being used for transmitting a non-varying component. If you have a DC power, DC level, that means some amount of power is wasted, or some amount of power is being transmitted for conveying a non-varying component. Okay, you are transmitting for nothing. Okay, that is a DC component which is of no use to us. Okay, that's all we are trying to explain here. Okay, so the DC level in fact is not only cropping up, it is constantly changing. Okay, so the DC level is cropping here. The DC level is cropping up here, and also this DC level is constantly changing also. The DC power is not constant in fact. Constantly changing. Okay, and moreover, as I said, detection of ones and zeros also a problem in this. At the receiver, whether in a particular bit interval the transmitted bit value was 1 or 0, and that is difficult to decide because the area is changing. See, it has to go like this. Instead of going like this, it is going like this. So if you take this area, the area is very less amount positive and more amount negative. Let's say this is my DC level. Maybe draw one more time. See, it goes like this, and then it has to stay like that. Instead of staying like this, it slowly, because of the low frequency response, it goes like this. Now if you take in this bit interval, this is my bit interval, right? If it goes like this, if you find the area, this is the area. This area is very, very less. And this is the DC level. This is the positive area. The amount of positive area is less. If the positive area is less, then you will decide to decode as 0. Okay. Therefore, for a positive area, if you take in this bit interval, this is my positive area, more positive area. So for positive area larger than a certain value, you can always declare safely that 1 was transmitted. Similarly, for negative area, let's say for negative area, this area, safely you can declare 0 was transmitted. So even in the presence of noise, we would be reasonably sure to make correct decision if you do things like this, because we will not be affected too much by occasional large amplitude of noise, which typically will occur for very short durations. Therefore, in this kind of situations, things are fine. But in this kind of situation, things are bad. Okay, so in this kind of situation, things are not good. So what happens here? What happens here particularly towards end of this point in this region, end of this point, very small positive voltage in particular to bit interval, in this bit interval. in this bit interval. Okay, in this bit interval. Therefore, you are trying to decide in this interval as 0, but originally you transmitted 1. Okay, in this interval the area is very low positive area, maybe due to noise. Okay, because of noise it may look like a negative area. Okay, the small positive area will become a negative area because of the noise, and the net area will turn out to be negative, and you may make a wrong decision. Therefore, your tolerance to noise becomes very, very small in this, especially in this particular region. And what is worse is it is unpredictable over time, right? Where it is going to happen and where it is not going to happen. Okay, we don't know where it will where it is going to happen and where it is not going to happen. So this area is going to create a lot of problems for us. Okay, so this area, the green color shaded area, rounded in green color, is create lot of problems, especially when deciding which bit was transmitted. Okay, particularly if you have a very high data rate or very high rate of bits, then this decay problem would be more, because you will be having fairly series of high number of ones, so you could have fairly long duration. So if it is long duration, it may cross the 0 voltage line also. Okay, and moreover it basically depends on the time constant of the transmission line. That is, we have to examine that. More importantly, it is important to realize that this one is not a very common occurrence. Okay, it mostly occurs. Reason is, suppose we are talking, particularly let's talk about zeros. If zeros representing silent intervals, for example, typical there could be long silent intervals in between your spoken words. Suppose if you start a speech, then you transmit some words like this, and in between the words there is some silent interval. Right? The silent interval you are transmitting 0, 0, 0, 0 like that. So in that situation things will be worse. And this long duration of zeros could be sufficiently large to create this DC vendor and affect your performance. Okay, and one more thing is, mind you, remember at the receiver we are not talking of a very strong received signal. Okay, the received signal is not strong. The received signal is very weak, because the signal already have undergone a lot of attenuation. The signal to noise ratio that we are looking at the receiver is fairly smaller. Okay, so they are equal to each other. So SNR is not infinity in that case. So it is more or less like SNR is like a 10 to 20 dB or 30 dB or so. So it will not be much more than that. Maybe even down to very close to 0 dB. Sometimes, depending on the situation. So therefore this problem becomes very prominent. But if your pulse width is increased, you are sacrificing your data rate. So this is a trade-off between your data rate and pulse width. Maybe you can increase the pulse width, but what happens in that case? Your data rate comes down. See, to avoid this problem, you can increase the pulse width, but if you increase the pulse width, the data rate will come down. If you increase the pulse width, data rate is going to come down. If you increase the pulse width, the DC boundary will not be stopped, in fact. Okay, it will become more serious. So anyway, this step will not help you, no use. Even if you increase the pulse width, the DC wandering will not be eliminated. Now let us see the potential problems. What are the problems? We will see. Okay, now coding ones and so this is the problem that we face now. So coding ones and zeros in the form of NRZ waveform, non-return to zero waveforms on a transmission line, particularly when there is a long string of ones or long string of zeros, then the line would appear to be either permanently on, in this case permanently on, or permanently off. Okay, so this is permanently on for some time and this permanently off for some time, right? Whenever you get a long strings of zeros and a long strings of ones, and this long, permanently on for some time and permanently off for some time create problems. What is that problem? Because of the low frequency response, it is slowly decaying. So now the method that we come up is, don't allow this long string of ones or long string of zeros. Actually the problem is not with the long string of ones and the long string of zeros. Okay, we don't have any issues with the long sequence or string of ones and zeros, ones or zeros, but we have issues with the issues with what? Long duration of positive voltage or negative voltage. Okay, we don't mind whether you are getting long string of ones or long string of zeros. In fact, it is not in our control, right? The source is producing some data and obviously our duty is we have to transmit it. So we can't go and say the transmitter, hey, don't transmit long string of zeros or don't transmit long string of zeros. We can't go and tell them. Okay, but it's our duty to design line codes such that this problem can be eliminated. So we have issues with the long duration of positive voltage or long duration of negative voltage. So we have to come up with a certain mechanism such that this long duration of positive voltage can be eliminated. Don't allow the positive voltage continuously for longer duration. But anyway, if you use polar codes, either you have to say positive voltage for longer duration or negative voltage for longer duration. So how can I eliminate this? Okay, so therefore the net effect of this DC conditions are, we have our overall no, I'll come to that later. Okay, therefore instead of allowing this long duration of positive voltage or long duration of negative voltage, allow them for shorter durations. Okay, and make some changes here and similarly make some changes here. That's what we are going to do. Now let us see these things in detail now. And in this case DC equal to 0 volt, right? But if you allow this to a transmission line, then the DC level will be non-zero, 0 volt. But if you allow to like this, then here DC level is not equal to 0 volt. If the DC level is not equal to 0 volt, that means we are wasting the power. Wasting power, and also because of these waveforms we make wrong decision. Now let us talk about this wasting of power. So in this case, what happens in this type of output waveforms, our overall power requirement will go up. Overall power requirement will go up. This is the first point we should note down. Okay, this is one effect. And usually because of poor low frequency response, this is the first point. Poor low frequency response, DC components also get greatly attenuated. The attenuation of DC component is greater as opposed to AC component. So these are important points one has to remember. So attenuation is greater for DC as opposed to AC component. So this is one problem because of this DC wandering. And as I said, wrong detection, right? So wrong detection. So detection probability or correct decision probability, correct decision probability will be reduced. That means you are making some error. If you make some error, then what happens? Performance may go down. Okay, so we need to use polar codes, but if you use polar code, see, we started with unipolar codes, but in unipolar codes, as I said, there is some constant DC power. When I start the class in the unipolar codes, there is some DC voltage, constant DC voltage, right? So where did I write? Yeah, some constant DC level. Because of the constant DC level, we are wasting of power. To overcome that, we went to non-return to zero or polar codes, and then we talked about bipolar codes. But again, when you transmit these polar codes through the transmission line or cable or pair of wires, then there will be one more problem. Because of the low frequency response, poor low frequency response, the DC level is shifted from 0 to some non-zero value. Because of that, we are wasting power, and the DC level is keep on changing, and because of that there is detection problem, like, right? The correct decision probability will be reduced, and hence it implies poor performance. Okay, and finally one more effect that I should have talked about, but I'll just mention here that the fourth problem, that also very important problem. This is the possibility of losing synchronization. We'll talk more about this a little later, what we mean by synchronization. In digital communication, synchronization is the most important attribute. So without synchronization, we cannot do anything in digital communication. Okay, so there are four problems we need to consider. The first one is the power requirement will increase, and second, as I said, DC component will be greatly attenuated than the AC component, and third one is detection problem. So because of that, performance may go down, and fourth point is synchronization problem. Right? If you get a long string of ones, it is also bad from the point of view of synchronizer. The long string of ones or long string of zeros is not only bad from the point of view of number one, waste of power, right? Number two, attenuation. Number three, poor performance. Poor performance in the sense, poor detection capability, but also bad from the point of view of what? Synchronization. Whenever you have long string of ones and zeros, then the receiver fails to synchronize with the transmitter, right? So that I'll tell you how it happens. The synchronizer at the receiver or at the repeater is going to look at the synchronizing information. Okay, so you have the synchronizer. The synchronizer is there at the repeater or at the receiver. So the job of the synchronizer is to look at the synchronizing information. What do you mean by synchronizing information? Because we need to know, right, the period of each bit and where the bit starts and where the bit ends. For example, if I say this is my bit duration, I need to know the duration time, let's say t, and at what point it exactly starts, at what point it exactly ends. I may have the same duration but some other different point like this. This is wrong. Even though the duration is same, this also t, this also t, but this is wrong. Why? Because the starting point is different from this guy. So we need to know at what point the waveform crosses 0. Okay, it crosses this point, or it crosses this point, or it crosses here, or it crosses here, or where it crosses 0 point. So how often ones are changing to zeros or zeros are changing to ones? When will you get this 0 crossings? This is my 0. Let's say, let me draw the waveform like this, and this is my 0 voltage, positive voltage and negative voltage. So when will you get 0 crossings? When you move from positive voltage to negative voltage to positive voltage. Right? So this positive voltage is 1 and the negative voltage is 0. Okay, so we need to ask ourselves, like, how often ones are changing to zeros and zeros are changing to ones and ones are changing to zeros. So that once you know this crossing area, this time you will come to know, and this time you will come to know. With that information you will come to know the duration. So the synchronizer will be able to detect the synchronizing information from the received waveform, provided that your waveform should keep on alternate between ones and zeros. In case if the waveform is not changing, keep on it goes like this, then the receiver, the synchronizer which is sitting at the receiver, loses the synchronizing information. So therefore this 0 crossing should occur more oftenly, otherwise you cannot do the synchronizing. Okay, so that gives some idea about how to adjust itself so as to synchronizing with the received bit rate or received clock. In case, as I said, if you have long string of ones like this, or long string of, let's say, long string of zeros like this, 0 0 0 or 1 1 1 like that, then you will lose the synchronizing information. You will lose the synchronization. So you may be slightly not very confident about what I am saying here, because we have not looked at how a synchronizer really works. But obviously, whatever be the exact mechanism of synchronization, that will probably study later. Okay, but it has to derive the synchronizer has to derive the information about bits by looking at bit transitions. Okay, so for how it transits bit transitions, this is 1 0 1 0 like this. So whenever there is a transition, from that the synchronizer derives the synchronizing information. Okay, it does not get any in case if it does not get any transitions, if the synchronizer does not get any transitions, then it does not get any information, and therefore it may lose synchronization, and which is again bad. When you get long sequence of ones, then it is bad from the point of view of synchronizer or synchronization. Okay, then we are not even looking at the correct bit interval, you may be slightly offset. For example, let me say like this. Now you are supposed to look at this interval. For example, this is my original interval. Now if the duration slightly shifted, if it is slightly shifted like this, originally my area is this one, this area. Now because of the shift, my area is this area and this area, right? Maybe let me draw the waveform again. Okay, let me draw the same waveform again here. I'm not drawing very clearly. Okay, let me try. Some approximate waveforms. Now if the synchronizer synchronizes properly, this is my positive area. So this is the correct area. In case if the synchronizer loses the synchronizing information, then instead of starting this point, it starts from here to here. Now what happens in this region? This is the positive area and this one is negative area, right? So in this case we are not even looking at the correct bit interval. Okay, so this is my correct bit interval. Okay, you may be slightly offset because of the synchronizing problem. So instead of looking at this area, this shaded area, you may be looking at this area, that is the area under this duration, which is even worse. This is somewhat better. Okay, at least we will make only one error, but here everything goes wrong, subsequent bits also will go wrong. Okay, so this is very worse because your local clock is disadjusted after such a long string of ones. Okay, so that's the another possible source of problem for a long string of ones. Obviously the problem gets worse as the length of this all one sequence and all zero sequence. Okay, therefore you should not allow long string of ones. I mean, I'm very sorry to say this. I'm very sorry about my statement. Okay, I mean, we are not supposed to allow continuous positive voltage or continuous negative voltage. See, getting long string of ones and zeros is not in the designer's hand. Okay, if the source is transmitting long string of ones, or if the source is giving long string of zeros, then it's your duty to transmit it. But the thing is, we need to design a code such that the code should not stay at the positive voltage for a longer duration. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, instead of staying longer duration like this, you somehow bring down and again go up, bring down, go up, like that you have to design it. Therefore the synchronization problems will be solved, and DC wandering problem will be solved, wastage of the power will be solved, and attenuation problem will be solved. All the drawbacks will be eliminated. Therefore the solution to all these problems is, what is the solution? Design properly designed line codes. So design a suitable line codes such that one can eliminate the above said drawbacks. So you have to design a good line codes. That is, use waveforms. Line code means waveforms. That's what I'm trying to say here. Waveforms. Design a nice waveform to represent your binary sequence. Whether the binary sequence contains long zeros or long ones, these problems has to be minimized or totally eliminated. Okay, such that design proper line codes such that these problems the 4 problems, right? I said these 4 problems are minimized if not totally eliminated. Of course, we cannot eliminate completely, but let us try to minimize it. Okay, so ideally we would like to eliminate them, that is our wish, but at least we would like to minimize them. Eliminate, this is our wish. Okay, but at least minimize. So this is what we are going to do in the properly designed line codes. Therefore, we start with unipolar. Unipolar is not suitable because naturally it has positive DC voltage or DC component, so we cannot use it. So we moved from bipolar and polar. And the polar is also called NRG. So in this NRG we have this problem, right? So the above said 4 problems: DC wandering, attenuation, and then detection problem, and then 4th one is synchronization problem. These 4 problems we said. Therefore, we need to design a line codes suitably such that these 4 problems are eliminated. If not, at least try to minimize it. Okay, so let us talk about in the next class. Okay, not now. In the next class, let us talk generally about 2 important classes of line codes, which are coined and standardized by CCITT. They are AMI code, and second one is HDB small n code. We will see these codes in detail in the next class. So let me stop at this point. Thank you very much.